The narrator returns to Boone County and stands before his grandmother's old farmhouse for the first time in years. The land feels heavy with memory.
I return to Boone County, standing before my grandmother's old farmhouse for the first time in years.
When I first came back to Boone County, I told myself I was doing it for practical reasons. Cheaper land, quieter life, a chance to fix up my grandmother's old farmhouse instead of letting it rot. But deep down, I think I wanted to understand her. She was a strange woman toward the end, quiet, distant, and always talking about things better left buried. I never knew what she meant until I moved in. The house sat on a slope just off an old gravel road, surrounded by black walnut trees that shed early and made the ground look burnt. It hadn't been lived in for nearly 15 years. The first few days, I worked through the mess, peeling wallpaper, sweeping out dust thick enough to choke a man, patching holes where mice had turned the insulation into nests. It was exhausting work, but there was something peaceful about it. I'd come out at dusk, sit on the porch steps, and watch fog crawl up from the holler. It felt like the land was breathing. The first odd thing happened about a week in. I was pulling up old carpeting in the master bedroom when my pry bar caught on something that didn't sound like wood. It made a dull, hollow thump. I knelt down, brushed away the dust, and saw a sliver of dark space between the floorboards. Beneath that, something white, paper maybe. I fetched a screwdriver and worked one of the planks loose. There was a small gap, maybe 3 inches deep, and wedged inside was an envelope. The paper was brittle, yellowed around the edges, and sealed with dark red wax that had cracked like dried blood. It was addressed simply, Eli. The handwriting was my grandmother's. I'd seen it 1,000 times in her old recipes and birthday cards. The date in the corner read June 17th, 1961. I hesitated, then broke the seal. Inside was a single sheet of lined paper, written in the same looping cursive. It started with, "Eli, I don't expect forgiveness. I only hope you understand why I had to do it." The rest of the letter was smudged and water-stained, the words barely legible. But I caught fragments. Something about a storm, the well, and the noise that wouldn't stop. I sat there for a long while, staring at it. I'd never heard of anyone named Eli in our family. When I called my mother to ask, she paused too long before saying, "Your grandma knew a lot of people, honey. You'll find all kinds of junk in that place." Then she changed the subject. That night, I couldn't shake the feeling that the floor where I'd found the letter wasn't quite settled. I kept hearing faint creaks from that room, like someone was walking slow circles. Around midnight, I thought I heard scratching, soft at first, then steady, coming from under the boards. I told myself it was mice. Boone County's full of them. Still, I couldn't sleep. The next day, I tore up more of the bedroom floor. If there was one letter, maybe there were others. I found another envelope wedged under a joist. This one older, the wax darker, and the paper half rotted. The handwriting was shakier, as if written in a hurry. Eli, I buried it. I swear I did. "Don't come back here, please." That was all it said. No date, no signature, but the slant of the handwriting was unmistakable. After that, it felt like the whole house shifted. The air grew damp, heavy. My tools would move when I wasn't looking. Nails I'd left on the dresser ended up scattered across the floor. The dog, my old nut Buck, refused to go near the bedroom. He'd growl low, hackles raised, then back away whining. I told myself the place was just settling, that my mind was playing tricks from exhaustion. But the letters didn't stop. Over the next week, I found 4 more, each hidden deeper in the house. One behind the dresser, one stuffed in a wall cavity, another tucked inside the chimney flue. Every one of them mentioned Eli, everyone written by my grandmother, and the tone changed. The last few weren't apologies. They were warnings. He won't stop knocking. I told him I'd make it quiet. I think he's still under there. I started tearing up the floor in earnest. Every board that came up felt like peeling back skin. Under the center of the room, the joists darkened. Water damage, I told myself. But the smell rising from the space wasn't rot. It was stale, like metal and damp linen. I found another sealed letter wedged between 2 boards. This one was different. No wax, just folded tight. The ink had bled through both sides. "If anyone finds this, don't dig. Leave him be. He wasn't meant to be found." By then I was shaking. I sat back and stared at the open floor, heart pounding. A sane man would have stopped, but curiosity's a kind of sickness. I couldn't stand not knowing. I pried loose one last board near the wall, and the crowbar clanged against something solid. For a moment I thought I'd hit stone. But when I brushed away the dust, I saw fabric. Faded denim. Beneath it, a shirt collar. Folded neatly, there was no body, no bones. Just the clothes, arranged like someone had undressed carefully and left them there. A small tag pinned to the collar read, in the same thin script, "You weren't supposed to find this." I sat there staring at it for what felt like hours. The air in the house felt wrong, like it was pressing against my skin. When I finally looked up, I saw something that made my stomach drop. The boards I'd pulled up were back in place. Not all the way, but enough that they covered the floor, as if the house was swallowing itself shut. I ran outside, gasping for air. The evening fog had rolled in thick, and the woods were silent. No crickets, no wind, just that heavy, listening stillness. From inside the house, I thought I heard a soft knock. Once, then twice. I didn't go back in that night. I slept in my truck, parked halfway down the drive. Around 3 a.m., I woke up cold, the windows fogged from the inside. Someone had written a word in the condensation, Eli. I moved out the next morning. Left my his clothes, even the dog's bowl. I couldn't stay there. She didn't sound surprised. She just said, "Some things in that house will never want to be found." A week later, I drove back one last time to grab the deed from the kitchen drawer. The house looked smaller somehow, slumped in on itself. The air inside smelled the same, damp and cold. I went straight to the bedroom, half expecting to see the floor torn open again. But it was perfect. Not a single nail out of place. Only one thing was different. On the dresser sat a folded letter, sealed with red wax, my name on the front. I didn't open it. I drove straight out of Boone County and never looked back. But sometimes when I wake up at night, I swear I hear that same slow scratching under the floor. And I wonder if my grandmother ever really buried anything at all, or if the house is just waiting for someone else to dig. I started working for the post office in the spring of '78, right after my old man passed. I was 23, needed steady work, and the local postmaster said they were short on drivers who knew the back roads. The job wasn't glamorous. Long hours, bad coffee, and routes that took me down gravel trails barely wide enough for the truck, but it kept me busy. There's a rhythm to the mail. You get used to it. The same names, same houses, same barking dogs. The mountain people depend on their mail more than most folks. It's how they get their medicine, their checks, their news from sons in the army. You start to feel like part of the landscape after a while. Back then, everything was done by hand. No scanners, no GPS. You learned routes by memory, by feel. I worked out of a little office in a town called Beach Hollow, not far from the state line. One of those forgotten places, one gas station, one diner, and a church that hadn't rung its bell since the '60s. There were 4 of us at the post office. Me, another driver named Harris, old Mr. Dugan the postmaster, and a clerk named Marla, who had the kind of laugh that made the walls hum. It was a quiet job until that letter came in. It showed up in a stack of early morning mail from Lexington, bundled with the usual circulars and late bills. What caught my eye was the postmark. It read "Nowhere, KY." I frowned, thinking it was a misprint. But the date stamp was clear as day, March 5th, 1978. The envelope was yellow, maybe old stock, and addressed to the occupant. No street name, no box number, just that. The occupant. I almost tossed it in the dead mail bin, but curiosity got the better of me. The handwriting on the front was shaky, uneven, written in pencil. Whoever sent it had pressed so hard the letters were indented into the paper. I opened it carefully, expecting some crank or chain letter. Inside was one sheet of paper, folded 3 same postmark. Nowhere, KY. This one was longer. It's done, but she won't stay quiet. I can still hear her. I can still hear the shovel hitting the rocks. That's when Dugan told me to stop bringing them up. Dead mail, he said. They come through sometimes. Junk that slips through the system. Burn them if they bother you. But I couldn't burn them. I started keeping the letters in my locker. Something about the handwriting. I just couldn't place it. Then the third one. I remember because it arrived on a rainy Wednesday. The kind where fog clings low to the trees and the road disappears around every bend. It was waiting in my truck when I started my route, like someone had slipped it onto the seat during the night. The envelope was damp but intact. Same postmark. Nowhere, KY. Inside is a short note. She's on the move again. If you read this, stay inside after dark. Don't answer the door if she knocks. That one shook me. I showed it to Harris, who laughed it off. Hell, maybe it's some girl writing ghost stories, he said. But later, when he saw the postmark himself, he stopped laughing. Ain't no such place, he muttered. I even looked through an old Kentucky atlas we kept at the office. No town named Nowhere. The closest was Nowhere, a mining camp that shut down in the 50s after a collapse. Whole place condemned, wiped off the map. By Friday, another letter arrived. This one was worse. I told her I was sorry. I buried her near the creek where the trees grow thin, but she keeps finding her way back. I saw her by the post truck last night. Thought it was you. I didn't sleep much that weekend. My mind kept looping the same question. Who was writing these, and why send them to us? Monday morning, I came in early. The building was quiet, lights still off. The sorting room smelled like dust and coffee grounds. On my desk sat another envelope. No one else was there yet. I stared at it for a long time before picking it up. It was heavier than the others. Inside was a small photo, black and white, blurred. Looked like a woman standing in a field, her head turned just enough that her face was shadowed. On the back, written in the same scrawled handwriting, "You're next on her route." I dropped it. My hands were shaking. The photo slid under the desk. That morning I asked Dugan if anyone had come by during the night. He looked at me strangely. "We don't do overnight deliveries, son," he said. "Maybe you left it there yourself." I didn't argue, but I started noticing things after that. The mail truck door would be open when I got to work, even though I always locked it. Packages that were sealed would be damp, like they'd sat out in the rain. And when I'd drive my route, long stretches of empty dirt road through hollow after hollow, I started hearing the CB crackle when no one was talking. Just faint whispers, low and steady. Once I swear I heard my name. It got bad enough that I stopped running the late route. I'd finish early, sometimes skipping boxes altogether, but that didn't stop the letters. They started coming more often, every day now, sometimes 2 at a time. Each one more frantic. She's getting closer. I can hear her dragging. Please, don't let her in. One night, Marla offered to help me sort the backlog. We were alone, the fluorescent lights buzzing overhead, rain tapping against the windows. Around midnight, I pulled open the bottom of Dugan's drawer, looking for some forms. That's when I saw them. A stack of envelopes, all identical to mine. Dozens of them. Everyone postmarked Nowhere, KY. I flipped through, my heart racing. The oldest was dated 1963. The letters weren't just addressed to the occupant. Some had names. The previous postmaster, a mail carrier named Willis, a clerk named June, all long gone. When Marla saw my face, she asked what was wrong. I didn't know how to answer. She reached out to take one from my hand, and I noticed something I hadn't before. Faint smudges near the corners of every envelope. Dark streaks like fingerprints. They looked burned. I stayed late that night, reading through as many as I could stomach. Most were rambling, incoherent apologies, but a few made sense. They mentioned a woman, the one by the creek, who never stayed down. One letter described her waiting for the route to pass again. The next morning, Harris didn't show up for his shift. His truck was found parked on County Road 19, door open, headlights still on. Mail scattered across the ground, soaked through with dew. No sign of him. A week later, Dugan closed the office. Said it was budget cuts, but I knew better. The letters stopped coming, or maybe I just stopped checking. I took a job in Lexington, sorted mail for a while before moving on. Thought I'd put it behind me. But then last winter, I got a package at my apartment. No return address, no postage, just my name written in pencil. I almost threw it out, but the handwriting made my stomach drop. I knew it. Inside was one letter. The paper was damp, yellowed around the edges. Postmarked nowhere, KY. You didn't finish the route. I still have that letter. It's sitting in my desk drawer right now. Every once in a while, when the wind shifts just right, I can hear the faint hum of a mail truck down the road. Even though I live in the city now, and sometimes late at night, my CB crackles to life on its own. The voice always says the same thing, just my name, over and over, like she's checking to make sure I'm still here. When my mother passed, the hardest part wasn't going through her things. It was being in that house alone. She'd lived there for nearly 40 years, a small one-story home tucked near the edge of the woods outside Whitesburg, Kentucky. Nothing about it looked particularly eerie from the outside, but there was always a quietness to it, even when I was a kid, that made me feel like someone else was listening. I used to hear her talking through the walls sometimes, late at night. I'd call out and ask who she was talking to, and she'd say, "Just your aunt, sweetheart." But my aunt, her sister, had been gone since before I was born. Mom never liked to talk about her. All she'd ever say was that her sister left town one night and didn't come back. No explanations, no police reports, no funeral. Just a vanishing that settled like a secret. After the funeral, I stayed at the house to pack things up. It felt wrong to rush it. The place still smelled like the lavender soap she used, the faint smoke from her wood stove. The first few nights I slept in my old room, though sleep didn't come easy. The forest behind the house was alive with sound. The distant crow of frogs, branches creaking, wind blowing low through the valley. But sometimes, just before dawn, there'd be something else. A soft tapping, rhythmic, almost polite. It came from the far end of the house, from what Mom called the writing room. I didn't go in there much growing up. It used to be her sister's room long before I was born. After she disappeared, Mom turned it into a kind of office. She'd sit at the small desk by the window for hours, writing in long spirals of cursive. Letters mostly. I used to see her sealing them into envelopes, but I never saw her mail them. She always said, "Some words are better left unsent." On the third night, while clearing out her bedroom closet, I found a shoebox tied shut with old twine. Dust had turned the cardboard gray. Inside I found the letters. There must have been at least 30, each one neatly folded, addressed in my mother's careful handwriting to Caroline. That was her sister's name. No stamps, no return address, just letter after letter written across decades. The oldest dated 1987, the newest just last year. The early ones were gentle, filled with guilt and longing. She wrote about missing her sister, about dreams where they'd meet again near the creek they used to play by. But the tone changed halfway through. The handwriting grew scientific erratic. The apologies became accusations. She wrote about hearing things, tapping in the walls, voices in the pipes, the feeling of someone breathing behind her bed. One letter stopped me cold. "You shouldn't have come back yet. I buried what you left me, but it still knocks. It still remembers." The last one was different, shorter, jagged. The ink smeared as though she'd written it through tears. "I can still hear you whispering through the walls." That was the night I heard it again. The tapping. It started just after midnight, faint but steady. I lay in bed listening. It wasn't coming from the forest this time. It was coming from inside the house. 3 taps, then silence, then again, like someone knocking softly, trying not to wake the others. I got up, grabbed my flashlight, and followed the sound down the hallway. The air felt heavy, like before a storm. The closer I got to the writing room, the clearer it became. Not random, but patterned. Tap, 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 tap. A rhythm, like speech. I opened the door. The room was small, one window, a wooden desk, a stack of yellowed papers. The wallpaper had begun to peel, curling up at the corners. The tapping stopped when I stepped inside. I shined my light along the walls, half expecting to see a mouse or a loose pipe. Nothing, just the sound of my own breath. I almost left then, but something caught my eye. A thin crack had formed behind the desk, running from the baseboard halfway up the wall. The wallpaper around it was darker, as if damp. When I moved the desk, I heard the paper tear slightly, and the tapping started again, right beneath that crack. My pulse kicked up. Slowly, I reached out and peeled a strip of wallpaper back. Beneath it was another layer of older paper, floral pattern, decades out of style. Someone had painted over it once, but age had peeled it thin. I dug at the edge with my fingernail until it gave way. Behind it, in a shallow gap between the plaster and the studs, was an envelope. It was clean, too clean, the paper crisp, unyellowed. The ink was still glistening. It was addressed to me, my full name, and written in my mother's handwriting. I just stood there for a long time, the envelope in my hand, feeling my stomach twist. I hadn't told anyone I was staying there. No one had been in that room for weeks, not since the coroner took her body. My hands were shaking as I broke the seal. Inside was a single sheet of lined paper. You shouldn't have read the others. That's all it said. No signature. No date. The air in the room felt colder, sharp against my neck. The tapping started again, softer this time, like it was further inside the wall. I pressed my ear against the plaster. I could hear something behind it. Not scratching, not pipes. It sounded like breathing. I backed away, heart hammering. The flashlight flickered once and went out. In the dark, I swear I heard someone whisper my name. I stumbled out of the room, slammed the door, and spent the rest of the night sitting on the porch with a blanket around me, staring into the tree line until dawn. In the daylight, the house felt different, smaller, harmless almost. I told myself I'd imagined it. Grief does strange things. I packed the shoebox into my car, intending to take it with me when I left. But before I could, I noticed something odd. The wallpaper in the hallway. It had started to peel too. A thin line running low along the baseboard. I got down on my knees and pulled it back. Behind it, another envelope. This one addressed to Caroline. I didn't open it. I didn't have to. I could already guess what it would say. That night, I stayed in a motel 2 towns over. But even there, the quiet wasn't safe. Around midnight, I woke to that same pattern. 3 soft taps, then silence. I checked the walls, the window, the door. Nothing. But on the nightstand, where I'd left the box of letters, the lid was open. One of the envelopes was missing. The next morning, I went back to the house with a local handyman, an older guy named Dale who'd known my family for years. I told him I thought there might be an animal nesting in the walls, maybe behind the writing room. He laughed, said he'd take a look. We pulled down the panel, layer by layer. Behind it wasn't a nest. It was a space, narrow, maybe a foot wide, running between the studs. At the bottom lay scraps of paper, some half-rotted, some still legible. Letters, dozens of them. The handwriting was the same, my mother's. But they weren't addressed to Caroline. They were addressed to me, each one dated years before I was born. Dale didn't say much after that. He gathered his tools, mumbled something about needing air, and left. I stayed behind, kneeling by the wall, reading what I could through the rot and mildew. The oldest letter